All right, guys, welcome back to another podcast on MMAUnhinged. Today I'm joined again by Oscar Silva. How's it going?
It's going great. We had a ton of fights this past weekend, so I think we ought to go right into them. We had Johnny Walker versus Jamal Hill in the main event, and we all had a feeling that this would not go very long, and it did not. Jamal Hill gets the first round KO just a couple minutes into the round, and he did it in emphatic fashion. It was a punch that didn't even land flush, right on the temple, but Johnny Walker topples over. It looked like a big old oakwood tree falling down. It was a very brutal knockout, and Jamal Hill has now entered the top 10 of the UFC's light heavyweight division. Now I'm very excited for his future, but unfortunately, the story on the other end is the unfortunate decline of Johnny Walker, a guy that many people once was going to be a contender for the title. And now it appears that he probably doesn't even belong in that top 10. So the future is very bright for Jamal Hill. So where do you think he goes next after this? And what do you think of the knockout?
I think maybe, actually, I'll talk about the fight. I think it's a fantastic knockout. And I knew before the fight, if he connects on that Walker chin, it could be a wrap early on. And he did. He landed early and knocked him out. And it was funny because when he did that, that shoulder celebration, it was like a reverse of that. So it was like, it was maybe, I don't know, it was just funny to me. But, Johnny Walker, there's something needs to change I don't know what it is, something needs to change, but people blaming, John Kavanagh, the celebration, the injury. But we talked about it before we went on air. It's not that. It's just that he just can't really take a punch. And coming up against a guy like Jamal Hill, who has a fantastic finishing rate, heavy hands, it just wasn't a good matchup for him. And maybe a step up to heavyweight. What happened with Overeem? Overeem put some beef on. His chin didn't get much better, but it improved. So maybe that's an option. But I don't know what to do with Johnny Walker next. This guy was touted once upon a time to beat John Jones, and now he's getting knocked out 3 times in his last 4 or something like that. It's crazy. But for Jamal Hill, I'd like to see Dominic Reyes. And you're probably thinking, wow, what, you're throwing Dominic Reyes in there? Yes, I am. Dominic Reyes or Volkan Oezdemir. That's what I'd like next.
Yeah, there's a ton of good options for Jamal Hill. It appears that Volkan Oezdemir stands out amongst them for Jamal. But I really feel like Thiago Santos would be a much more exciting fight. I know Thiago is booked to fight Magomed Ankalaev. I think Magomed wipes the floor with Thiago. I really think so. Magomed is a much better wrestler, and he can definitely knock out Thiago Santos. But I feel like that's more of a fair fight for both sides. When you talk about Dominic Reyes, I would hate to see him get knocked out again. Jamal Hill's a heavy hitter, man. That'd be very unfortunate if we saw Dominic take another loss. So I actually prefer the Thiago Santos fight just because Thiago's not Thiago's clearly on the decline, and I still think Dominic has yet to hit his prime. So that's why I prefer that matchup.
I mean, I like the matchup. It's a great matchup, but yeah, as you mentioned, he's got Magomed Ankalaev to try and get past. We both got the same picture. I think Magomed Ankalaev, wipes the floor with him and progresses into the top 5. So yeah, it's a good matchup. I definitely see that one next. The good thing is about Jamal Hill, where in the position he is he's got so many options. So that's good.
Yeah, and I also feel that he's eclipsed the quality of fighter that he was when he fought Paul Craig. I was so confident he was going to knock out Paul Craig, but he came in arrogant and he tried to play with Paul Craig on the ground. And he learned his lesson, and he's become a better fighter as a result. So if we ever see that rematch, I'm very confident Jamal Hill wins that. But I don't think they'll cross paths because Paul Craig says he'll retire after this year. But nonetheless, great win for Jamal Hill. I feel like this was his breakout moment in the UFC. A lot of people surprisingly didn't know him before this, even though he had already knocked out Jimmy Crute and Owen St. Preux, but Johnny Walker's a big name, and he just knocked out a big name in emphatic fashion. And wow, that was a really good win. So we'll move on to another good win, another finish in the first round. Kyle Daukaus got a first round Darce choke over Jamie Pickett. Kyle Daukaus was a huge favorite coming into this, and I agreed with it, especially when you look at the disparity in their BJJ skills. Kyle Daukaus dominated this fight, took him to the ground, and eventually wrapped up that dark choke, as I said. And Jamie Pickett tapped right at the buzzer, like 0.5 seconds before the buzzer. And the reason he did it was because he thought he was going to bite his own tongue off, because he was biting around on his tongue. He thought he was going to lose his tongue. So lets you know the squeezing power that Kyle Daukaus has. So this was what I expected Kyle Daukaus to do. As I said, the guy had two to this Kevin Holland, Roman Dolidze, Julian Marquez, and this was a huge downgrade from what originally was. So yeah, Kyle Daukaus did what he was expected to do out there.
Yeah, it was a great performance, as you were talking about, and as he talked about, almost he tapped because he thought he was going to bite his tongue off. So lucky he did tap, because I don't know whether I can deal with a tongue coming out on the octagon. That's a different story. But yeah, Kyle Daukaus, getting well. Do you want to call it getting back into the win column? That uncertainty in his last fight. He probably wanted to, get a win, like a proper legitimate win on the record. So he's probably happy now. So. And it was a great performance, and the submission was where I saw him, really taking over this fight, and it proved it was a fantastic submission. The little dash choke, and Kyle Daukaus is just got to get a win streak going, and I think he can reach the top 15. But it's going to be a hard push.
Yeah, I feel like they should just rebook that Roman Dolidze fight now. Roman Dolidze does not have anything booked right now, and I still feel like that would be a fairly competitive fight. And one that probably ends inside the distance. So that's just a fight I want to see personally. We'll move on to Parker Porter's unanimous decision victory over Alan Bedeau. I was so confident Parker Porter would win this. I said he was my most confident pick on the whole card. And, man, this was way closer than I was expecting to. I had money bet on Parker Porter, and I'm not going to lie, I was having a tough sweat over this one. I thought, honestly, you could have given the fight to Alan Bedeau if you wanted to. Alan Bedeau looked better than he ever has. And Parker Porter, I don't know, he didn't perform that great in this fight. He tried to wrestle Bedeau, but Bedeau's a big guy. Bedeau was not as easy to take down as I thought he would be. And both guys were just very tired. It was a very sloppy fight. But in the end, Bedeau was overconfident. He was out there just counting the eggs before the chickens hatched. And Bedeau got taken down. And Parker Porter, I thought Parker Porter was going to submit him, but he just didn't have the energy to pull off the Americana he was trying. But in the end, Parker Porter wins the unanimous decision. Not super impressive, but what did you make of it?
Yeah, as you mentioned, they're not impressive. A big old sloppy heavyweight MMA fight. What else could you ask for? You're going to have one on the card at one point, and this was it. As you mentioned, there, Parker Porter, doing what he had to do to get it done, getting inside, making it nice and dirty, and the dirty boxing was good, and the wrestling, trying to implement it. But as you mentioned, Bedeau was a hard man to take down. He's a big lad, so eventually when he got him down, as you can see that control time, 6 minutes and 34 seconds. If Parker Porter could initiate that grappling a little bit more, it would have made it more cleaner. But he still got it done. So I think that's a win streak for him now, if I'm correct. He beat Chase Sherman. Now he's beat Alan Bedeau. So he's picking up some wins now.
Oh yeah, Parker Porter's in, I would say, the prime of this career right now. I don't think he's going to improve much after this. I believe he's 36 now. I think it's now never Parker Porter, and I think the next step should the loser of Tanner Boser versus Rodrigo Nascimento. I think that's a solid step up. And yeah, Parker Porter will do very well against a lot of these unranked heavyweights that can just fight for 1 round. Parker Porter's proven he's got better cardio than most of these guys. So don't judge the book by its cover. Moving on, Jim Miller got the TKO over Nicholas Mota in round 2. Jim Miller continues to impress everybody. This guy keeps on fighting these up-and-coming young guys. Nicholas Mota was signed off of the Contender Series. He's a heavy hitter, as we saw. Rocked to Jim in the first round. I was thinking Jim probably gets knocked out eventually. But just like in his last fight, Jim bounces back, and he's the one rocking his opponent and eventually putting him out. Jim Miller was seen as a submission artist by many, but they ignored the power in his hands, and I don't think they'll be ignoring it much after this. He gets the second round TKO over Mota, and I said Mota was fairly durable, but I don't agree with that sentiment anymore. It's definitely concerning when he's getting knocked out by a 38-year-old Jim Miller. So I don't know if Mota's cut out for the UFC, but I'm still impressed by Jim Miller's longevity in his career. As DC pointed out, this is harder. What Jim Miller's are doing right now is harder to do than becoming a UFC champion, because this is not something that people can do for very long when it comes to MMA. The injuries that come with it, the mental stress. Jim Miller is a tough guy, and he's still getting these wins.
Yeah, as you talked about, he's aging veteran, but he's still getting it done. And Jim Miller likes to get it done on the ground, but he's showing his power is still there at his age, knocking guys out. He knocked someone out a few fights ago, and now he's knocked out Nicholas Mota. So he's proven that he's still got hands. He's still got power in them hands. And don't sleep on his boxing, because if you sleep on his boxing and get sleepy and get tired, and he's gonna knock you out. And that was it. It was a fantastic punch, and he got knocked out. My gosh, he now equals the record with Cowboy Cerrone, so they're fighting for it at the top.
Yeah, most wins is now shared by Jim Miller and Don Cerrone, and most fights in UFC history is now only Jim Miller at 39. His next fight will be his 40th. It is crazy. I would say most UFC fighters don't even get to 15. So to see a guy about to reach 40 is so impressive. It would be really cool to see Jim Miller be the only fighter to compete at UFC 100, 200, and 300. That's his goal. So that'd be really fun to see. I hope we can get some more mileage out of this version of Jim Miller. I would hate to see awful decline like we've seen with others. So nice to see him stay in the win column with another finish over a young guy. And moving on to a fight that did not end via finish like most people expected it to. Joaquin Buckley gets a split decision win over Abdul Razak Al Hassan. This was a very nail-biting fight. We felt that whoever landed first probably puts the other out, but that clean shot really never landed. Both guys did tag each other a couple times. I felt like that first round could have gone to either guy, but I did slightly lean on Buckley. He had a little more volume, and in the second round, it was the most clear round of the fight. Buckley just put a beating on Abdul Razak Al Hassan, and I don't know. It was very clear that Al Hassan was trying to get Buckley gassed to punch himself out, but Al Hassan himself was gassed as well. So it just resulted in the third round being a very sloppy fight, and eventually Abdul, with the very little energy that he had, he got a takedown, and Buckley himself was just too tired to get up. So Abdul, even though he lost, he really surprised me by winning that third round. He's never won a third round in his career. He's never won a fight after the first round. So for him to at least win a third round was impressive. But either way, Buckley, he got the win here. And this shows growth to me for Buckley to now win by decision after just being on a knockout streak.
And then Joaquin Buckley getting it done with was it Dale Brown? Was it? I want to call him in his corners.
Yes, Commander Dale Brown from the Detroit Urban Survival Training Program. The guy's gone super viral on Instagram, on TikTok. Yeah, this was obviously a marketing ploy for Buckley, and it worked. I would say outside of the main event, he actually got the most attention of anyone because he had the viral star in his corner. And I'll say it, he's got more wins this year as a coach than John Kavanagh. Just swallow that, SBG fans.
Oscar Silva dropping in them facts, coming for all the heat on your Oscar. But it's facts. So what can you say? As you talked about Joaquin Buckley, it was quite a sloppy fight in the third round. Round 1 and 2. It wasn't a fight we expected. We were expecting a knockout in round 1, both meant to be fresh and just big bomb over the top, and that was it. But it went all three judges, all three rounds. as you talked about, Abdul Razak Al Hassan winning the first ever round 3 of his career. So that's a plus for him. That's probably a little bit of confidence. And in the next fight, we'll probably see him throw a little bit more, be more active, because he's won a round 3 now. So he'll have a little bit more confidence in his back pocket. So Joaquin Buckley, though, is on a 2-fight win streak now. So he's picking up the momentum where he left off after that impa.
Yeah. And we'll move on to the main event of the prelims. David Onama scored a first-round KO over Benitez. This was probably the second best KO of the night. It was spectacular. I would say this might be one of the best one-round fights of the year. David Onama was in big trouble. He got his eye busted up. He could not see at all. And I thought Benitez was on his way to scoring a finish via TKO in that first round. But Onama is tough as nails. We've already known how tough this guy is after the Mason Jones fight. This guy is ultra durable, and he hits like a Mack truck. As soon as Benitez got a little tired, David Onama smelled blood, backed him up, and did he throw with technique at all? No, he just threw those haymakers, those wild hooks, and Benitez wanted out as soon as he started tasting that power, and eventually he got put to sleep on his feet, and then he went down. This was emphatic, and this scored David Onama his second UFC bonus. This is life-changing for the guy. He's the first Ugandan fighter to score a victory in the UFC, and I'm very excited for his future, man. This guy, win or lose, will put on an exciting fight, and he's a guy that you can always rely to turn things around with that knockout power.
Yeah, this dude is a problem. When he gets it going, when he's in a full flow state, this guy's a problem. And he put it on Gabriel Benitez, but Gabriel Benitez brought it to him as well. So this was a perfect matchup. It's phenomenal. That Mason Jones matchup for Onana was perfect as well, and this one was even better. It's quite similar in styles, and it was good. And David Onama just got it done, man. He took a lot of big shots, and he came back and delivered even bigger ones. And Gabriel Benitez just couldn't take the power anymore. He's always an exciting fight, as you mentioned. That's 2 bonuses now. That's 2 in 2 fights. You can always guarantee he's going to be in a burner. So it's a phenomenal fight.
Yeah, and we'll move on to the first round submission of Jessica Rose Clark by Stephanie Edgar. Stephanie Edgar really surprised me here. I knew it was a possibility she would get a first round upper. When you got somebody as good as Edgar in the submission department in the mix, there's always a possibility she gets a submission while they're dry, and she did right here. Jessica Rose Clark has dealt with a lot of mental health issues, and they reared its ugly head in this fight. She went on autopilot. As she said, the game plan was not to clinch, and she clinched. And as soon as she did, I was thinking that's kind of a mistake. You're leaving an opening for Edgar to use her judo black belt, and she did. She got that judo throw reminiscent of Ronda Rousey back in the day, and she got that armbar with perfect technique. She made it look easy out there, and yeah, I think this now makes it 2 finishes for Edgar at bantamweight, which is not easy to do. I now think the next fight here for her should be Alexis Davis, a tough vet.
Yeah, as you were talking about there, she got in there, got the judo throw, got it to the ground, and that was submission was there, and she took it in full effect. She really made it look easy in this fight. And if you're Jessica Rose Clark, you're probably preparing for this type of fight, getting in the clinch, expecting a throw or something like that. And as you talked about, her game plan just went out the window, and she went in for the clinch, and that's not a smart idea against a caliber of judo practitioner like Stephanie Edgar. And it was just levels above on the ground. It was ridiculous, and a fantastic win for Edgar, and I agree with you. I think Alexis Davis that'll be a good one next for her.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll move on to what may be Chaz Kelly's final fight. He got the second round knockout over Mark Steagle. Wow, just wow. Chaz Kelly has always been viewed as more of a submission grappler and a wrestler. Kind of looks like Ben Askren and fights like him too, but with much better stand-up as we saw in this fight. He got that first round takedown. He was looking like he was in control of the fight in that first round. Still close round though, but come that second round, he did not even use much of that wrestling. What he used was the knee, capitalizing off of an unfortunate headbutt. And he put out Mark Steagle. This is now 2 fights for Mark Steagle where he's kind of knocked out. Very unfortunate because this guy has a great record. He's a very talented fighter, but he's just fought some tough matchups in this featherweight division, and he's now lost 2 fights via finish. But I was so impressed by Chael here. I thought if he would win, it would be by submission and on the feet. I thought Steagle had the edge, but that was not the case. We see Chael get a emphatic knee, and I actually thought he deserved a bonus, but he was snubbed, and now it appears he's going to be working in the roofing business.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Chael, I think, in my opinion, to let it go, to hang it up, because it was a good performance. He got the job done, and he got the finish. Just maybe he might stay around, but it doesn't seem like he wants to stay around. So this probably is the last time we see Chael, and what a way to go out, get the finish, and against a tough, hungry guy like Steagle, and it was a fantastic way to bow out. If it is Chael's last fight in his career, I wouldn't be ashamed of that one.
Yeah, Chael says he will stay in the UFC, a testing pool, just in case the UFC has an interesting fight to offer him. I don't know what exactly he means by interesting. I would assume it means like a legend or a very established name, not some young up-and-comer like Mark Steagle. And honestly, I don't think Chael brings in the numbers for the UFC to go out their way to offer him an interesting fight like that. So I personally feel this is the last time we see Chael in the octagon, and it's really a shame because he's a world-class fighter, man. But unfortunately, let's be honest, he probably would be in that gatekeeper spot. This featherweight division is a shark tank, and he's not a top 15 guy, but he's always going to be one of those guys that does well right outside of that top 15. So happy trails to Chael. Hopefully he does well in the roofing business, and we'll move on to Gloria De Paula's first UFC win, a unanimous decision win over Diana Belbita. This was a phenomenal fight. Both women fought their hearts out in this one. This was a very close fight. I called it on this show. I thought this would go the full 15 minutes, and it would come down to who landed more volume or who landed the more significant strikes. And Belbita actually outstruck her in this fight, but a lot of it was to the body, so the judges didn't respect it as much, and Gloria De Paula was the one being more of a headhunter. And in the end, Gloria De Paula gets her arm raised, and I thought it was the right move. This was a very tough fight to score, but at the end of the day, I felt that Gloria De Paula was the one dictating where the fight went. She looked a lot cleaner out there too, and she had a little bit of control time, over 5 minutes, in fact, in the clinch. I felt like that was the difference maker here. Do you agree with the decision?
Yeah, as you talked about, it's definitely a difference maker. It was a tough fight, getting her first win in the UFC career, and it was an important one because if she lost this one, it maybe could have been the axe from the UFC. So it was definitely an important one. It was a good fight. I enjoyed it, and I feel like this early card, it was an entertaining one. So if you didn't tune in to watch that, I don't know what you were doing.
Yeah, a lot of people saying that this wasn't the best card. Of course, it wasn't the best card of the year, but it was a very entertaining card. I don't think they watched these prelims because these prelims were fantastic. This was one of many great fights, and we'll move on to another fantastic fight. The UFC did not hand out a fight of the night bonus, but if they were going to, it would have went to these two guys. Chad Anheliger scores a third-round KO over Jesse Strader. I was confident Chad Anheliger would win this fight, but I actually thought he would have the wrestling edge in this fight. But Jesse Strader goes out there and fights like he usually doesn't fight. He goes out there, gets takedowns constantly, but Chad Anheliger gets right back to his feet. And I was very impressed with Jesse Strader in this fight. He was the much bigger man on the night. Just a ton of volume from him, but Chad Anheliger in the end gets a knockdown in that second round, stealing the round. And in the third round, Jesse Strader's running away with the round. It was a very clear Jesse Strader fight. I had money bet on Anheliger, so sweating bad on this one as well. But Chad Anheliger, even though he's a very small guy, he packs a punch and he puts out Jesse Strader, who had tired at that point, and gets himself a knockout, his first UFC win. Chad and Helger, I really like his fighting style. He's 35 now, so I think the smart move for him is to go back to flyweight. This guy looked unbelievably tiny in there. I don't think he can compete with the best bantamweights at that size. So I think he should go to flyweight, where I actually think he can be in the top 10 of that division. Do you agree?
I do agree. I think he's a fantastic fighter. And early on, I thought Jesse Strader, with them takedowns, I thought it was the better wrestler. I thought it was going to go his way, but and Helliger came back and knocked him out and got got the punch. So a fantastic performance from both men. Jesse Strader, I think he's on before this. He lost twice inside the UFC, or maybe once. So
once against Jackson.
There we go. So 0-2. Oh yeah, against Montel Jackson. Yeah, he got knocked out in that one, I do believe. So and again, so not a great start for Jesse Strader, but I still believe that he has time to turn around. He impressed me in this fight, but 0-2 inside the UFC is not a great look. So the next one is definitely an important one. But Anne Helliger, man, what a fantastic performance and getting the job done. 125 pounds. I don't mind it.
Yeah, I agree. A fantastic fight from both men. And we'll move on to another sick fight. Jonathan Pierce got the unanimous decision win over Christian Rodriguez, but it was not without a little bit of a struggle on his end.
Wow.
Goodness gracious. I severely underestimated Christian Rodriguez's abilities. What I had seen in previous fights was nothing compared to what I saw during this fight. Christian Rodriguez, out of everyone in the card, he was the most memorable loser. Christian Rodriguez put Jonathan Pierce in a very tight guillotine. We heard Pierce gargling. I thought the fight was over. But Pierce is tough as nails, and he gets out of the submission. And wow, it was clear to me that Christian Rodriguez, if he was a real featherweight, he would have won this fight. But he's a bantamweight going up, so he had the size disadvantage here. And Pierce just kept on muscling him to the ground. But we had a ton of scrambles in this fight. It was so entertaining to watch. And on the feet, it was clear to me that Pierce had fatigued big time, and Christian Rodriguez was landing the more damaging strikes over and over again. But ultimately, Pierce kept on getting the takedowns, getting the control time. That was a difference maker here. But man, Pierce took a real beating in this fight. 8 big elbows that, if they were landed by a featherweight, probably put him down. Pierce has a lot of holes in his game, and we saw him right here. But he was just the bigger guy, and that's why he got the win, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Christian Rodriguez, yes, he lost, but I feel like he's got a great future in front of him. It was a great performance from him. Even though he didn't get his hand raised, he showed that he was a gamer. Short notice too, so there's a lot to come from in the future. And as he's fighting at featherweight against an actual featherweight like Jonathan Pierce, it wasn't in his favor. He was just getting out muscled, as you were talking about. And bantamweight, I feel like he could really do some damage. I'm really excited to see where he goes in the future. And the bantamweight division just gets even more stacks with Christian Rodriguez adding that to the division. There's some things that both guys need to work on. As you talked about, Jonathan Pierce just got touched a little bit too much. He run out of gas at the end. Christian Rodriguez, and maybe putting on the muscle a little bit. But if he does move down to bantamweight, maybe he won't get outstrengthened as much as he did at featherweight. So it'd be an interesting move. Definitely 135 is the best move for Christian Rodriguez.
100%, and we'll move on to Mario Batista's unanimous decision victory over Jayperrin. Lenny talked to Jonathan Pierce, and if you're listening to this podcast on
Mario Batista
platforms, Mario Batista. If you're listening to this podcast on audio platforms, you just heard that Mario Batista interview. The interview will be attached to the beginning of the episode. It was a really good interview. He said he wants Ronnie Lawrence next after this. He wouldn't mind rebooking the Khalid Taha fight, but let's talk about his performance. Wow. Mario Batista had not won in 2 years. He fights Jayperrin. Jayperrin came in on short notice. They have the same management. So Mario Batista got a heads up that Jayperrin was already training beforehand. And wow, he knew exactly how to fight this fight. Jayperrin is a wrestler, and he stuffed 3 of those takedowns, and he made him pay for it. He got him right in the clinch, and he beat the crap out of him. Goodness gracious, those elbows were landing over and over again. They were rocking Jayperrin. I thought at one point he was about to knock him out. And he kept on throwing those flying knees throughout the fight, always looking for the knockout, being very aggressive, lots of volume throughout the fight. Very impressive performance by Martin Batista, and it was a very dominant one, too. I scored this a 30-26, like one judge did, showing you it wasn't much of a competitive fight. But props to Jayperrin. He's a tough guy, but Martin Batista was just miles ahead in every aspect of the game.
Yeah, 100%. I got to agree. It was as you talked about there, it was the clinch that really won him the fight. You know, the elbows, the knees, and the flying knees. He threw a couple of them in this fight, and some of them were close. Who knows? A different day or a different fight, it could have landed. And he mixed up really well, striking. Then he clinched, and he takes him down. So impressive performance from Martin Batista. Me and you actually picked him to beat Trevin Jones. It didn't go his way, but it just shows how highly we rated him, and he proved it in this fight. It was a fantastic performance against the gamer, as you talked about in Jayperrin. So fantastic win for him, and back in the win column after 2 whole years.
Yeah, and we talked before the show. I think that Ronnie Lawrence fight is very winnable for him. Ronnie Lawrence loves to wrestle, and Batista loves to throw those flying knees. We could definitely see one of them. And for Silva's slips, I'll be honest, I don't even remember what it was, but I believe
it was a 4-fight parlay, but I can't remember.
It was I believe it was Chad and Hellinger, the inside the distance on Jamal Hill, Johnny Walker, the inside the distance on Miller and Mota and somebody else. I think it's Jonathan Pierce, somebody else. But I'll tell you straight up, on the bets outside of that, I did very well on. I actually didn't lose any bets this past weekend. I was very happy.
Wow.
Made a lot of money. Thanks to my
I'm gonna get my notepad. I'm gonna write down your bets on this podcast, so we know next week.
All right. Yeah. Thanks to my guy Park Reporter. Shout out to Park Reporter and Mario Batista too. I bet on him as well. We'll move on now to the other fights that happened this past weekend. Which event do you want to talk about first? Bellator or BKFC? Because there's so much going on.
We'll quickly go into Bellator, talk about the main event and obviously that co-main event.
Yeah, wow, brutal stuff on both fights, actually. Nani Gracie lost the unanimous decision to Logan Storley in the Bellator main event. Wow. Both guys had not shown a ton of their stand-up. We had seen more of Nani Gracie stand-up before this, but Logan Storley was such a dominant wrestler. We didn't see much of that stand-up before this, and this is the best he's ever looked striking. First 2 rounds clearly go to Logan Storley. He was pressuring Nani Gracie, clearly outlanding him, landing the bigger shots. And come the 3rd round, wow, Nani Gracie just decided he was not going to walk backwards, started being a little more aggressive, and better round for Neiman, but ultimately I did not give it to him. In the 4th round, Logan Storley gets clipped big time by Nani Gracie. I thought Logan Storley was about to go out, but then he counters Gracie's jab with the overhand, and goodness gracious, now Nani Gracie's in trouble. That 4th round was spectacular. Both guys, I thought at one point were about to go to sleep, but they toughed it out, and they reached the 4th round, and the 5th round. And the 5th round is more of a Logan Storley round. Nani Gracie had just taken so much damage at that point, and Logan Storley beats him up in that 5th round, secures the victory. Very entertaining fight. Round 4 is probably a contender for round of the year. I love this fight, and I think Logan Storley is maybe one or 2 fights away from getting a title shot. Of course, Korshkov is in the mix, but obviously I think Jason Jackson gets that title shot.
Jason Jackson.
And Nani Gracie is nothing to be ashamed of. It's 5-round fight for him. Looked good out there, better than ever when it came to striking. And we saw none of the ground game like we thought we would. But in the end, it made for an entertaining fight.
Yeah, Jason Jackson would take on Douglas Lima at Bellator London, and then Andre Korshov, who fought on this event, will take on Paul Daly at Bellator London as well.
Yep. I was so excited to see that Korshkov had a fight booked so quickly, and especially a guy in Paul Daly who always brings the action, man. And I think that that Yeah, that's Paul Daly's last fight. I don't know how it goes exactly. Probably Koreshkov. I think he probably gets a TKO there. But let's talk about Koreshkov's first round spinning back kick TKO over Chance Contra, the UFC veteran. I was so confident that Koreshkov would win here. Chance Contra did not perform well in the UFC, and when he came to Bellator, he fought one of their best guys. This is one of the best welterweights in the world. As we talked about in the last show, only lost to Douglas Lima, Ben Askren, and Amosov. Goodness gracious. And he showed it out there that he's one of the best in the world. He puts away Chance in less than 40 seconds, and he broke several of Chance's ribs and punctured his lung. One of the most brutal injuries I've seen from fight.
Wow. Yeah, 5 ribs he broke. 5 ribs and punctured his lung. That's incredible. It's ridiculous, and a fantastic win. There's only 30 seconds to talk about, but what a placement of that kick. And thankfully, Ren Count was all okay. But man, fantastic win, fantastic placement on the kick, and he's got a tough matchup next against Paul Daly, and what a pleasure it will be for him to fight Paul Daly in his last fight. But as you talked about, Koreshkov probably gets that one done. So it was a good one. We have Adam Piccolotti as well, winning the decision over Georgi Sarukian. There we go. But Adam Piccolotti recently, you've probably seen it in the news a little bit. Recently, getting suspended by the I forgot what, the commission for 4 to 6 months because he released a video on his Instagram of him being sick when he was weight cutting. So.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate. You hate to see these athletes go through a tough weight cut, especially when they're supposed to be in prime condition for their fight the next day. So, yeah, I don't know if Piccolotti should be moving up, but definitely should reconsider some lifestyle changes that could make the weight cut easier. We'll now touch up very quickly on the wins of Mike Perry and Chad Mendes at the BKFC Knucklemania 2. Mike Perry won via split decision over Julian Lane, the Let Me Bang Bro guy from The Ultimate Fighter. It was a much closer fight than I expected, but I think it probably due to the fact that Julian Lane already had a lot of bare knuckle experience, so he probably was more knowledgeable when it came to the strategy in that sport. But nonetheless, Perry gets the first round knockdown, and he won the rest of the fight. But Julian Lane did crack him there. I feel like with more experience that Mike Perry can become their champion. Beating a guy like Thiago Alvarez is not the tough task that it once was back at UFC 100 for 100 for George St. Pierre.
Yeah, he called him out after the fight, and as you talked about, is one of their biggest fighters that they probably have on the roster, Mike Perry, and he's really well suited for BKFC. I don't know what it is. When you think about Platinum Mike Perry and BKFC, bare knuckle, it just kind of fits. He just kind of fits what they're looking for, and it was a fantastic fight. I liked it. Mike Perry looked good, and definitely the title fight I'd like to see next. He's not exclusive with bare knuckle, which was interesting. So he said he don't know what's going to happen next. He said he might return to Triller because he got paid a lot more in Triller than he did in BKFC, but he got paid more in BKFC than he did in UFC. So it just shows you, wow, it was he definitely got a good payday, which is good. And someone else who got a good payday was Chad Mendes. So.
Yeah, Thiago Alvarez is definitely the fight to make. There's no bigger name out there than Mike Perry. As they called him on the broadcast, he's the new face of the BKFC. And I agree. Is there any bigger fighter, at least male fighter, in the organization than Mike Perry that you can think of?
Absolutely not. Well, maybe Chad Mendes, but I still think Platinum Perry has probably got that more attraction to him because the fight style.
Yeah, 100%. Mike Perry, never afraid to say something controversial or something dumb in the UFC, so he was always getting those headlines. And the eyes followed from the UFC to BKFC. The guy definitely has some star power, and I think if the BKFC is smart, they'll put him in that title fight. Because that's just going to draw more eyes to Mike Perry. And now we'll talk about Chad Mendes' 4th round TKO of Fames. Goodness gracious. Fames has a losing record in BKFC. He's actually an R&B singer. So as soon as I saw this fight put together, it was a complete mismatch. Not for 1 second did I give Fames a shot on this fight. Chad Mendes has always hit unbelievably hard. The guy had Jose Aldo in trouble back in their fights. He had Volkanovski in trouble. So when I know when you take the gloves off of this guy, he's going to be a menace in that boxing ring, and that's what he did out there. He absolutely destroyed Fames. I feel like it was a late stoppage. They could have stopped it earlier. Sure, Fames was getting up, but the guy was not in good shape at all. Chad Mendes getting his first win in a very long time, and I love to see it. I think he can have some serious longevity in the BKFC because I don't think many guys beat him.
Yeah, and he's funny enough as well. He's actually still signed to the UFC, but the UFC allowed him to go fight in BKFC. So it's interesting to see what happens there. Does he return back to the UFC? He said he got maybe 3 fights left. So
yeah, who knows? But let's be honest. If the BKFC is paying him more than they're paying Francis Ngannou, do you think the UFC is going to bank up the Brinks truck for Chad Mendes, the guy who likely won't even find himself in the top 5 of the division? Probably not. So I say expect Chad Mendes to stick around in the BKFC. And now we'll talk about this weekend's UFC Vegas 49. Islam Makhachev, the number 3 lightweight in the world, was set to fight Beneil Dariush in the main event. Beneil Dariush injures his ankle, and Bobby Green had fought just that week before. He had not taken a lot of damage in the fight, won a unanimous decision win over Nasrat Haqparast. And Bobby Green has always been that guy you can rely on to take a fight at short notice, and he did it here again. It's now set at 160-pound catchweight. Islam Makhachev is fighting an unranked opponent, unfortunately, because nobody else said yes that had a ranking next to their name. And that's been the story of Islam's career. Nobody wants to fight this guy. This guy has the style that everybody fears because they know they can't get up or they'll get submitted themselves. Islam, in my opinion, is the best lightweight on the planet right now. I know he doesn't have those high-quality wins on his resume, but he was booked to fight some of them, and they pulled out, or the guys just say no when the contract gets put in front of their face. So I feel even with a win here, he gets a title shot. And I think that's what he does out here against Bobby Green. Bobby Green is a solid wrestler. Don't get me wrong. He actually out-wrestled Clay Guida and defended Clay's takedowns. But let's be honest, he's been fighting a ton of strikers. Islam has solid striking, but he's going to get the takedown and get the 4th round submission. He can get it via an arm triangle. He can get it via arm bar, via rear naked choke, however he wants. He submitted Thiago Moises in the 4th round. Thiago is a very decorated black belt. He submitted tons of black belts. In his last fight, he fought Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker's not a bad grappler. He goes out there, gets a 1st round Kimura. Islam Makhachev by domination in a 4th round submission. Do you agree?
I mean, I think it's going to be a good fight. The one thing with Bobby Green, you know, he's going to bring the fight every time he turns up. He's always going to bring that fight style. He's not a quitter. He likes to fight, and he always, you know, where we've seen him struggle is against these wrestlers, against fighters who are better than him. And I think Islam Makhachev is just better than him. And unfortunately, but you know, Bobby Green is a gamer, as I talked about. He always likes to fight, and in his last fight against Nasrat Haqparast, he looked phenomenal on the feet. And if Islam Makhachev wants to keep it on the feet, which is crazy, if he tries to do that, I think Islam Makhachev tries to shoot at the quickest time he can, because Bobby Green is slick, his head move is too good, his footwork is sick as well. But Islam Makhachev is just a different animal on the ground, and he's going to get him down. So he's going to get him down. He's going to attempt submissions. He's going to beat him up. He's going to ground and pound him, and it's going to be either a decision or a late finish submission. So, and that's the way I see it going.
Yeah, Bobby Green's a fantastic kickboxer. All you have to do is see that fight with Rafael Fiziev. Everybody and their mother thought Fiziev was going to put the boots to Bobby Green in that fight, and he did not look like a big favorite that night. 1st round was very close. 2nd round, Fiziev clearly wins. 3rd round, Bobby Green goes beast mode and beats the crap out of Fazeev, rocks him. He has a much higher volume. Bobby Green is a very elite striker, but let's be honest, it's not going to matter in this fight because he cannot keep it standing here. And his get-up game is not bad at all, but who's a better wrestler that Green has faced than Makhachev? Literally nobody. And Green, he's also known for losing these split decisions to fighters that, let's be honest, have a much worse skill set than Makhachev. Makhachev will get these takedowns quite easily, honestly. I think this is going to be similar to the Drew Dober fight. Dober, he was looking for those big shots, trying to knock him out, which, in my opinion, if you ask me, Dober has a better shot of knocking out Islam than Bobby Green does. Bobby Green, historically known for winning fights via decision, not a heavy hitter like a Dober or a Martins. So I think Makhachev, he might get hit with a couple shots, but they're not going to rock him. And eventually he's going to show why he deserves to be in a title fight and get a submission over Bobby Green, something that people have been unable to do in a very long time.
Yeah, 100%. That's the way I see it going. Unfortunately, Bobby Green stepped up, but if it goes right, he's launched himself up there. But you can't hate Bobby Green for stepping up on short notice like this. Not many guys want to take a fight against Islam Makhachev, and he's taking it on short notice. Dan Hooker done it, and then Bobby Green has done it. And I think if Islam Makhachev wins this one, I feel like you've just got to give him that title shot because no one's going to want to fight him.
Yeah, Bobby Green, he's not even ranked. I know it's not a good look, but Bobby Green's a very talented fighter. And who else has a better case to make for a title shot? Everybody else who's in the top 10, they've lost fights, or they've lost like the contender fights where they were going to get near the title, or they fought for it. Nobody has the win streak like Makhachev besides Beneil Dariush, who he was set to face. Beneil's probably going to be injured for, we don't know what the time frame is. So I say just give it to Islam. Let's be honest. I think Islam beats Gaethje and Charles Oliveira if he fights him. I'm just ready to see the guy fight for a title. I think he has all the skills to win that belt. And at minus 800, I don't think he's a great bet, but if you want something super safe, I say why not if you want to put him in your parlays. Moving on to the co-main event, Misha Cirkunov versus Wellington Turman. I feel like the real co-main event is Omar Sarukian, Joel Alvarez, but we'll talk about that one later. Misha, he fought his first fight at middleweight in his last fight against Krzysztof Jotko. It was a close fight, it really was, but Misha Cirkunov was smaller in there. He's a little skinnier, so he did not have that kind of muscle he had back at lightweight to just muscle these guys down to the mat and eventually submit him. So in that fight, he got his takedown stuffed, and on the feet, Chaco had the higher output, the cleaner striking, and Chaco won the split decision in that fight. And Wellington Turman on the other side, he was set to fight Rodolfo Vieira back on the Ngannou Gone card, and something happens to Vieira health-wise. The fight does not come to fruition. And before that, he had a win over Sam Alvey. That's not a good win. We've said it a million times on podcasts. It's not a good win. Sam Alvey just didn't fight smart at all in that fight. It was a super clear win for Turman. In fact, he rocks Alvey with a spinning back elbow. But I'll say one thing. Misha Cirkunov is not the most durable guy. But Wellington Turman does not have this kind of dangerous power that's a concern. And Turman is a black belt himself. He trains out of Teixeira MMA and Fitness. And Glover Teixeira has a first-round TKO over Misha Cirkunov. So I'm sure Teixeira can give a couple tips to Turman, but in the end, it will not be enough. I think we see Misha get a takedown here, and I think we see him snatch up a submission here, whether it be a guillotine or a rear naked choke. I think he's slick enough to beat Wellington Turman here. I think he's a better grappler. But realistically, if it goes past the first round, it could definitely be a win for Turman.
Yeah, I got to agree. I think Misha Serkinov definitely has the better ground game. Well, not definitely, but I think has the better ground game. I think he'd get it done. I think he could submit William Turman. We've seen William Turman in the past as well. He's been knocked out a few times. I don't really. I'm not that chin. It's not really reliable. We've seen him get absolutely starched a few times. So who knows? Misha Serkinov might knock him out. But I'm just saying that might not happen. That's definitely. That's like 1 out of 100 possibility. That's probably not going to happen. It's grappler versus like grappler in this one. So I see Misha Serkinov really getting this one done. And I think it's going to be submission. I think it might be even early on. I think he'll catch him while he's dry, and I think he's going to submit him. I like the arm triangle in this fight. I think it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, if you ask me who has a better gas tank, definitely Wellington Turman. Misha Serkinov's gas tank is really not great. Before his last fight against Jocko, he had not gone to a decision since 2011. So there's a high possibility this ends inside the distance. And Serkinov has submitted better grapplers like a Nikita Krylov. So we'll move on to and the pick obviously is Serkinov first round submission. We'll move on to Ji Yeon Kim versus Priscilla Cachoeira. This is a very exciting fight for me, just because Cachoeira has that game-changing power in this flyweight division. She has a very awful resume, but if she hits you, you're probably going to be in trouble. She fought Gina Mazzani as a huge underdog. I picked her there. She gets the second round TKO. She was actually beating Jillian Robertson on the feet. Obviously, she's a better striker. But she got taken down, got her back taken. And it was just an awful scene when she was gouging Jillian Robertson's eye. And what's worse, Jillian Robertson only has eye issues. So that was just an awful scene. I'm surprised the UFC didn't cut her. Joe Rogan was just campaigning for her to get cut after that. But she still sticks around. She has a fight booked against Ji Yeon Kim. I think Ji Yeon Kim is definitely the cleaner striker, has the quicker hands, and 100% has a better ground game. So realistically, Ji Yeon Kim should win a decision here. But if she gets cracked like she did against Molly McCann, there's a real possibility we see a Priscilla Cachoeira walking away with a win here. But I'll go with the more realistic pick. I think Ji Yeon Kim outpoints her throughout 15 minutes. Probably mixes in a little bit of takedowns and gets a unanimous decision win.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. I'll go with Junior Kim as well. But it's a difficult one. I feel like it could go either way. You were talking about definitely Cachoeira could definitely knock her out, and she's got them hands. And we saw Molly McCann touch up Junior Kim. So if Molly McCann could do it and hit her clean, if Cachoeira hits her clean, she's going to knock her out. So she needs to stay ready, keep her head moving. And I feel like she's going to do that. I think she's going to win. I feel like she's going to win the striking battles, be first to the punch, and just kind of stick at a range where she can't get hit from the power.
Yeah, one thing that's a big factor here too. Ji Yeon Kim has a big reach advantage here. I think if she finally uses it here, I think she can make a difference in this fight. We'll move on to what is the real co-main event in the hardcore fans' heart: Arman Sarukian versus Joel Alvarez. Arman Sarukian, he debuted against Islam Makhachev and had a close fight. That's all I'll say. That's how you know this guy's the real deal. Ever since then, he's been dominating guys with the wrestling. The fights aren't even competitive. That Matt Frevola fight was a mauling. And then he fights Christos Giagos. People think he's just going to grind him out, get another unanimous decision win. He goes out there, knocks him out in the first round, shows he's improving with his striking. He's got power in his hands as well. And now he's fighting a guy in Joel Alvarez, who also was seen as more of a grappler before. But in his last fight, he fights Thiago Moises, and he knocks him out in the first round. Joel Alvarez was one of my nominees for most improved fighter of 2021 because of how good that striking looked. Before that, he would just let guys take him down and armbar them or guillotine them. And this is a fight where if he wants to win, he should not go to that spot. He should go out there and try to keep it standing. And I think he's got a good shot at knocking out Sarukian here. Sarukian's not super durable. He's actually got knocked out in about 30 seconds in one fight, I believe it was. Besides that, he's been very dominant, but Joel Alvarez really impressed me in his last fight. He's got a huge reach advantage, and he's very tall. And if he uses that to his advantage, he can go very far in this division. Against Thiago Moises, he was cutting him up with those elbows, using his knees. Man, I think Joel Alvarez can win this fight if it stays striking. But do I think it stays striking? Absolutely not. I think Arman Sarukian gets those takedowns in every round, avoids getting hit clean. And I think Joel Alvarez is going to try to throw up arm bars on his back, and he's not going to be able to get him. I think Sarukian wins a unanimous decision. And I think he's really going to finally get one of these better, one of these higher ranked guys after this. I think guys just not been they've been avoiding him for too long. I think it's now time to step up the competition.
Yeah, but I think Arman gets this one done. And but I think Joe Alvarez, as you were talking about, he's a live dog. You definitely can't, root against or think this is going to be a walkover for Arman because Joe Alvarez, this guy's a phenomenal fighter. He's got good submission, great game off his back, as you were saying. He's got good striking. It definitely went leaps and bounds from last year. He looked incredible. But Arman's, I feel like he's just a different breed. He's in like the Islam Makhachev breed. And yes, he lost to Islam Makhachev, but I feel like he's up there. He made it a competitive fight, and this is the guy that I definitely see getting in the top 5 with Islam Makhachev. I think Arman Tsutsugian gets this one done, but I think it's going to be a tough one. I think it's going to be a really, really tough round for Arman Tsutsugian in that first round.
100%. Yeah, Joel Alvarez also, he does not have as good a cardio as Arman. Arman can take guys down 12 times in a fight. So, yeah, that's another confidence booster for us. And we'll move on to Armen Petrosyan's debut against Gregory Rodriguez. I'm super excited for this fight. I'm very confident we don't see a decision in this fight. Both guys fight to get a finish in every fight. Gregory Rodriguez had a fight of the night against the Iron Turtle, Jung Young Park, in his last fight. He himself got rocked in that second round. I thought Jung Young Park was about to knock him out, but Jung Young Park got sloppy, got countered, and he had his Beneil Dariush moment. He just got walked across the octagon by Gregory, and eventually he gets put out. And before that, Gregory fought Dushko Todorovic, and Dushko was a big favorite out there, and Gregory beat him up and got the decision. Before that, he gets a knockout in the regional scene. And before that, Contender Series, he fights Jordan Williams. He's a big favorite. I thought he was going to submit Jordan Williams in the first round, and it did not go that way. Jordan Williams, who I believe is more of a welterweight, goes out there and absolutely starches Gregory. Gregory is not durable, man. He's really not. As we saw against Jung Young Park's not really considered a heavy hitter, and he goes out there and rocks Gregory. And you're telling me he's fighting one of the best kickboxers in the UFC, Armen Petrosyan. Armen has a ton of kickboxing experience. I know he's only 6-1, but he's shown a lot to me in that stretch on the Contender Series. He fought a wrestler, not just any wrestler, a 10-0 wrestler, and he actually gets grinded out there, gets taken down, but he shows the ability to get up and be wise defensively. And then as soon as there was a little bit of space creative, he lands a wonderful combination, ends it with a leg kick, with a head kick, and knocks the guy out. Armen throws in combinations all the time, and even if this goes to decision, he'll win the decision. But I think he's going to knock out Gregory. Gregory cannot eat a shot well, and when he's fighting a guy in Armen who has only won via KO, that's a cause for concern. Gregory will get a takedown here. He's a black belt in judo and a black belt in BJJ. He could surely snap up a submission, but as soon as it stays striking, I think Armen lands the final blow here. And Armen is the best underdog to bet on this card, if you ask me.
Yeah, when Gregory Rodriguez fought Junior Park in his last fight, you were really high on Rodriguez. You were talking about how his striking looked better. He did get rocked, but you were really high on him. And In this one, I just don't see him winning the fight on that feet. As you're talking about Arm Petrusian, whatever his name is, he's really good on the on the feet. His kickboxing is incredible. Definitely, we're going to see a showcase just how good he is. But Gregory, if he does get a fight to the ground, he could pose some troubles. But we saw Armin in his last fight, or in the extended series fight, that he can deal with the wrestling. He's got good wrestling defense, and he's got a good get-up game. He got up and he knocked his opponent out. So it wouldn't surprise me if he gets taken down and then he knocks out Gregory Rodriguez. And as you mentioned, Gregory Rodriguez, he's been knocked out before. It's always a fighter. You're his opponent out, or he gets knocked out. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. But I think Gregory Rodriguez is just out of his depths in this one. I feel like he's a good fighter, but I think Armin is just too good on the feet.
Yeah, Armin himself has actually already gotten knocked out in the first round. It was actually June of last year. That's very recent. But I'll be honest, Armin also has a big power advantage here. So Armin, don't count out him getting knocked out himself. But when I see him as an underdog, and I look back at the Gregory loss to Jordan Levitt, who is not as clean of a striker as Armin,
Williams.
I think Armin. Yeah, I think Armin gets that KO here in the first round. We'll move on to the prelims now. Rong Zhu versus Ignacio Bahamondes. This is a big prospect battle here. Rong Zhu was a huge favorite coming out of China, out of the Chinese Performance Institute, and he fought Kazula Vargas. Kazula Vargas won that fight handily. He did get rocked in the third round, but he was not enough for Rong Zhu. And then in his second UFC fight, he gets a win over Brandon Jenkins. And it was competitive on the feet. So Rong Zhu takes to the ground, and he does quite well there. And eventually he gets the TKO over Brandon in the third round. And he's fighting a guy named Ignacio Bahamondes, who is very hittable, has a lot of scar tissue. He's been in combat sports for a very long time. He's the guy that Bilal Muhammad trains with the most. They're good friends, and Bilal Muhammad actually calls him the best striker in the UFC. Do I buy it for one bit? No, but you look at the guy's skill set, the guy can give you a lot of looks when it comes to kickboxing. He can fight in both stances very comfortably. He uses his reach very well. He's got good takedown defense. As I said, training with Bilal. Bilal's one of the best wrestlers at welterweight. And it's obvious to me that Ignacio's wrestling has gotten better because he fought Roosevelt Roberts, who's a solid wrestler. He stuffs 12 of those takedowns, and he destroys them on the feet. Eventually gets the spinning wheel kick in the third round. I was so impressed with Ignacio in that fight. Before that, he fought, who was it? The name
John Medesi.
Yeah, Makhachev. That was a complete war. He gets tagged in the first round, and he doesn't fight the same after that. That's a possibility. Rong Zhu rocking him. But at the end of the day, Bahamondes has super high output. He's very offensively minded. That's going to be the difference maker here. I think he clearly outpoints Rong Zhu to unanimous decision win here. Rong Zhu is very durable, so I don't think he gets a knockout, but I think he really pieces up Rong Zhu here.
I feel like we got the same picks, but yeah, I'm going with Bahamondes in this one. As you talked about against Rose Roberts in his last fight, I mean, I feel like everyone's seen that. The spinning wheel kick at the last minute, the buzzer beater. He's always going forward. He didn't have to throw that wheel kick because he was winning the fight. He was going to win the fight. He was on the way to victory, but he threw it. He's always looking to get the knockout in this one, and in any of his fights, he's always looking to get the knockout. He's always throwing big actions. The exact same we're going to see in this one. He's going to throw big actions. He's going to try and get the knockout, but I don't see him getting it, and I think it's going to be a decision win. But Bahamondes, I'm excited to see him back to see what he did after what he done in his last fight. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I think Bahamondes gets it done.
Yeah, we'll move on to Josiane Nunes' second UFC fight against a debutante. Ramona Pascual. Ramona is the main training partner for Ji Young Kim and Joanne Wood. She trains out of Syndicate MMA. And I'll be honest, she's fought awful competition. Let's pull up the records of her competition just to give you a perspective on the caliber of fighter that she is. 2-0.
Yeah,
Oh
wow.
no, 4-5. Oh no, 2-2, 2-0. Oh no, 0-2. She's not experienced at all. The best thing you can say about her, as I said, is her training partners, and I'm sure that they beat her up in training. She's still a developing fighter. I don't believe she's UFC caliber. And she's fighting Josiane Nunes, who also, I'll be honest, did not fight good competition. But one thing that is undeniable is Josiane Nunes hits like a truck. Josiane Nunes fought Bea Malecki in her last fight. Bea was undefeated, and Bea gets knocked out really bad. Like, this is a terrible knockout. Just to give you a little perspective, Bea Malecki is still dealing with noise sensitivity from that knockout. That's the kind of concussion Josiane Nunes can give you. She's very scary with that power. This is actually at women's featherweight, just because of the short notice aspect for Raula Pascual. I think Pascual is going to get knocked out here. I think Pascual probably can get some takedowns here, but there's no major pedigree for Pascual. She fights out of Hong Kong. I really don't think she's got the caliber of wrestling to give, or grappling for that fact, to give Josiane huge problems here. I think Josiane could find a way to defeat eventually, or just reach the second round and knock out Ramona. I don't think Ramona's ever been hit this hard. She's actually been TKO'd to be a ground pound before. I think Josiane is gonna give her a very tough night and find a knockout in round 2.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you on this one as well. I feel like we've got the same picks, and you'll go for round 2. I'll go for round 1. I think Nunes is going to hit her hard, and she's not going to like that. Round 1, I see her getting the knockout, and as you talked about, Nunes hits that truck, and you saw it in her last fight against Bea Malecki, and Malecki, I thought was out of her depth in that fight, and I do think like this is the same sort of situation. Nunes is she just hits like an animal. She reminds me of Jessica Andrade. She hits like an absolute truck, and Pascual is going to feel it, and she's going to get knocked out in round 1. She's either going to get knocked out or she's going to get TKO'd. She's going to get ground and pounded. So that's the only way I see it going. I don't see Pascual causing a threat with the grappling or on the striking.
I gotta agree with you. We'll move on to what should definitely be ranked higher on the card. This is a very exciting fight on paper. Terrence McKinney versus Fares Ziam. This fight was set to be going down at a card like, I believe it was in November. We've been waiting a very long time for this fight. It got delayed, and I've been waiting for it patiently ever since then. And finally getting it. Terrence McKinney is an all-action fighter. This guy is kind of a knockout or bust kind of guy. This guy is an animal out there. In his first UFC fight, he gets the quickest knockout of a debuting fighter ever. It was in 6 or 7 seconds against who was it?
Matt Frevola.
Matt Frevola, who is fairly durable previous to that, and just goodness gracious, just puts him out with a clean 1-2. And before that, he got 3 wins on the regional circuit, and they were a minute 24 combined. This guy has life-changing power. This guy can go very far in this division simply with the power, but he's also got a wrestling background. He was actually trained by Michael Chiesa back in high school for wrestling. He's out of Spokane, Washington. The grappling is not that bad on him. It's not that bad on this side either. But as I said, when you go for those first round knockouts, you're gonna burn yourself out if you don't get it, and that's what I expect against Fares Ziam. Fares Ziam is a durable guy. In his last fight, sure, he did get cracked big time by Luigi Vendramini. I thought Luigi was about to finish that fight, but Fares somehow stayed in that fight and eventually got that decision. Honestly, you could score that a draw very easily. That it was probably 10-8 in that third round. But before that, Fares Ziam was dominating that fight against Luigi. Before that, he fought, who was it? Jamie Malarkey. Jamie Malarkey, he gave him a tough fight. He mixed in the takedowns. I think Terrence McKinney can do just that here, but I think he'll eventually tire out, and I feel like Fresh can survive the power, but if he eats too many, he will go down, obviously. But I feel like FSCM probably gets a decision here, but he's got to watch out for that first round.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. Terrence McKinney in that first round, he hits that truck as you were talking about, and we saw it in his last fight against, as you mentioned, against Matt Frivola. All it takes is one shot. The second quickest knockout, I want to say. So, the guy possesses power, and if you look at his 2021, I believe he maybe fought, his 2021 he fought 5 times. All 5 of them were knockouts. So it just proves to you that this guy's got power in his hands, and he talks about he's got a wrestling background as well. But the only problem is, Francis Young, he's durable. He could take shots, as you were talking about. And when Terrence McKinney doesn't get a knockout in round 1, what happens? And we've seen it in the past. He has been, I believe, as I saw, he has been submitted. Terrence McKinney got submitted against Derek Minner. And then he also lost against
Sean Woodson on the Contender Series flying knee.
Yeah.
And when was that? It was in the second round after Terrence McKinney had given him a tough first round. So that just shows you that Terrence McKinney is very lethal early in the fight. But after that, not so much. I think it's going to be shown here again. Terrence McKinney, also a very young guy, not a lot of experience, still has a lot to improve on. And I think Fresiam is definitely the cleaner striker here. Does not hit as hard, but he does have that kickboxing background, and he's one of those guys that has good footwork, that does know how to use the range. I think it's gonna definitely be on the Faresian side here at the end of the day, via unanimous decision. It could be a draw though. I'm not ruling that out because he got 10-8 basically against Luigi. So we'll move on to Jinyu Frey versus Hannah Goldie. This fight is I think a bit of a mismatch, quite honestly. Jinyu Frey is a tough veteran. She did have a couple of tough matches early in the UFC run. She fought the very dangerous Kay Hansen. She got submitted there. And then she fought Loma Lugubumi. I don't know what she was thinking there. Just standing with Loma most of the fight. Only using the wrestling late in the fight. And she got outpointed there, obviously. And after that, she fights Gloria DePaul. We just talked about Gloria on this card. And she gets the takedowns and wins very handily. And then she fights Yoder. And she wins very obviously there. She loses the second round, I believe. But yeah, she rocked Yoder bad in that fight. So Jinyu Frey is a fighter that's improving. Her confidence is increasing. And she trains out of Force MMA. Hannah Goldie on the other side fought on the Contender Series, and then she fought Miranda Granger. And the problem with Goldie in a lot of these fights, she's very short, and she also has a short reach, so it's hard for her to close the distance on her opponents. And she doesn't have this elite striking, I would say, that gives her opponents problems. And on the grappling side, she is improving. She's good friends with Jillian Robertson, and she showed that when she fought who's the name? Emily, I believe. Emily Whitmire. Yeah. She gets first round submission. That was super impressive, but let's be honest, Whitmire has a losing record. So with Goldie, I really don't know exactly where she's at in terms of overall skill level. And against Diana Belbisa, she gets absolutely destroyed in that fight. Nearly gets finished. One thing I do know about Goldie, she's tough here. So I think Jinyu Frey will not get a finish here. I think she wins the decision. But at the end of the day, the striking is kind of even. But on the ground, Jinyu Frey, short of an armbar, should win this fight pretty dominantly by unanimous decision with wrestling. I really believe she just uses it with wrestling. Goldie's submission skills are not something that should intimidate Frey.
Yeah, I've got to agree. I think Frey gets this done, and Jinyu Frey gets it done. The only problem I had with this is that Jinyu Frey, at heart, she's an atomweight, so she's a small girl for strawweight. So if there was an atomweight division, she would definitely be in that division, and she would definitely be up there. But the good thing is, Hannah Goldie, she's not the biggest either, so it kind of works out in her favor. So she's got a favorable matchup, and I've got to like the submission for Jinyu Frey. She can definitely get it done, and As you talked about, this matchup probably doesn't really make sense. Hannah Goldie getting the win against Emily Whitmire, and now she's fighting Junior Frey, who's definitely a better opponent, and the possibility that she gets submitted in this one. And I like it early. I think submission early is what I'm going for.
Not a bad pick. Also, one thing to point out, Junior Frey has twice the experience as Hannah Goldie. That's also a big factor there. She's also been more active while Goldie was on the shelf there with injuries. So we'll move on to the next fight. This is another fight I think should be definitely higher in the card. Alejandro Perez versus Jonathan Martinez. This is going to be an exciting fight as long as it lasts. But Alejandro Perez is getting a little older, and Jonathan Martinez is getting a little better. It's kind of that simple. Perez, in his last fight, he fought a guy who was 43 on a huge skid, does not have a good chin, and he was getting off volume in that fight. So much so that he has to take the guy down and eventually find an arm bar. And his opponent had been submitted several times throughout his career, so I was confident Perez could do it. But it was not a good performance when it came to striking by Perez. He's got a lot of good wins on his resume, but I feel like that long layoff was not a good look here. And now he's fighting guy Jonathan Martinez, who is quicker, who's quicker and larger than his last opponent, and a better striker. I think this is a bad fight for Perez on the feet. I think Jonathan Martinez will stuff every takedown attempt by Perez. If you think Perez is a better wrestler than Xavier Labashvili, the undefeated Georgian, I think you're kind of crazy there. I think Martinez stuffs those takedowns and absolutely tools up Perez on the feet throughout 15 minutes. Gets himself in a unanimous decision. He could find himself the knockout too in this fight. Perez actually did get finished by Song Yadong, but at the end of the day, I think Martinez puts on a show here and gets the win.
I've got to agree with you. I think Martinez is the better fighter, the better striker. That's where he's going to get his work done. As you were talking about, you got knocked out by Song Yadong with that vicious overhand right, and the power. He doesn't hold up too well against power. And does Jonathan Martinez possess that power? Probably not. I don't think so. But does he have the volume? The pace? Yes, I feel like he can mix up really well on the feet, but Jonathan Martinez doesn't really take a punch well. We saw it against Davey Grant as well, but I don't see Alejandro Perez possessing the power threat. So this is a good matchup. Tight on the feet, but I see Jonathan Martinez just edging it just a little bit closer.
100%. We'll move on to Ramiz Brahimaj versus Michael Gilmore. This is going to be domination on the Brahimaj side. Brahimaj is minus 350 favorite. I completely agree with it. Michael Gilmore is only in the UFC by chance. He was on The Ultimate Fighter. I forgot who it was exactly. One of the guys got injured on The Ultimate Fighter.
Gilmore would it might be Petrowski, maybe? Oh, no.
But speaking of Petrowski finished Michael Gilmore in his only UFC fight in the third round via submission. Petrowski does not have good gas tank, but Gilmore has an even worse gas tank. So that's why Petrowski was able to find the finish there. I will say in that second round, Gilmore looked good. He was beating up that Petrowski lead leg with the leg kicks and clearly winning that fight. He did stuff with a couple of those takedowns, but in the first round, it was straight up dominance on the Petrowski side. Gilmore on the show, he got submitted by Gilbert Urbina. Gilbert Urbina, he's not the best grappler. Definitely not a better grappler than Ramiz Brahimaj. Ramiz is a welterweight though. This is Gilmore's his return to welterweight, and in this fight, I see him getting taken down like he has in his previous fights, and he'll get submitted quite easily. Honestly, I think it might take Brahimaj a little bit of time. I don't know if he wants to be a little too submission over position here, but the submission defense we've seen from Gilmore is not good. Brahimaj has a black belt. He looked really awful against Court McGee, but here I think he gets an easy submission here. Gilmore, honestly, on the feet, Gilmore might be a little better, but not by a big stretch here. I think Brahim Match gets that second round submission without much trouble. Honestly, I don't know what the point of booking this fight is. Just to give Brahim Match a win, I think. I think this is going to be a very easy fight for Brahim Match, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. I've got to agree. When Bahimraj uses wrestling, he's a different sort of animal. We saw it against in the Sasha. What's his second name? There we go. Where he took him down, submitted him. He looked good there. When he uses wrestling, he's a different sort of animal. But when he can't get his wrestling going, he's a bit clueless on the feet. But does Michael Gilmore have, the capability of knocking him out? I don't think so. I think it's going to be a battle of Raif Brahimaj. Just get him down, and he's going to get him down at one point, and he's going to submit him the first opportunity he gets.
Gilmore is also one of these guys that fought abysmal competition on the regional scene, and I think he's not ready for a guy like Brahimaj. Before the Ultimate Fighter, he fought a 1-1 fighter, a 2-2 fighter, a 2-3 fighter, a 3-2 fighter, an 0-1 fighter, a 2-0 fighter, and an 0-0 fighter. Like this guy is not proven at all. That's why he's got the 6-4 record, and that's fighting guys that aren't not good at all. Brahimaj is good on the ground. BJJ black belt. I think he gets a submission here. It's an excellent bet. It's an excellent bet. It really is, and I will be betting it. It'll be part of Silva's lips. We'll move on to the opening fight on the card. Victor Altamirano versus Carlos Hernandez. As you can see, both guys are from the Contender Series, and I have no idea why they would be booked against each other. The whole point of the Contender Series is to get your shot at the UFC to fight, UFC fighters. These guys are both in the Contender Series, so it's like basically a Contender Series fight here. So I really don't understand the matchmaking, but I do appreciate the style matchup here. I think this is going to be a fun fight. Both guys are primarily strikers. It looks like Victor Altamirano has a sizable experience advantage, 3 more fights, but Carlos Hernandez is actually the most experienced fighter. The guy has, I believe he was 15-1 as an amateur. The guy played the smart game, and he stayed an amateur a long time, and he really sharpened his tools, and I think it's going to show here. Victor Altamirano has really good kickboxing, very high volume. Both guys actually won their Contender Series fights via split decision. Altamirano, in my opinion, he did not win his fight. So much so that if you remember, Dana White broke his rules. He actually gave the loser of the fight a contract. It was that one fight where both guys got a contract because Candelario had already been on the Contender Series, and I believe he won, and he came back and he lost a tough split decision. So they just gave the guy the contract anyway. That shows you that Altamirano is not exactly on the UFC level quite yet. And Hernandez, on the other hand, I think he is. I actually thought he did win his fight, even though it was a split decision. And he's another guy, good kickboxing, but he likes to use his boxing a little more. He's got a really good jab, and he's not afraid of mixing those takedowns. And that's going to be a big factor in this fight. I think he gets the takedowns here. I think we'll see a close fight, but at the end of the day, I like Carlos Hernandez having more experience in this fight. And I think he wins the decision here. Probably going to be a split decision, though. But I think it'll be an entertaining fight. Nonetheless, it's probably going to play out mostly on the feet. With honestly, I don't think either guy has an advantage on the feet. So with Hernandez mixing the takedowns, I think that'll make things easier for him to get the win.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you in this one. If you look on the record of both men, Hernandez loves to wrestle, and he loves the rear naked choke. And as you talked about with Altamirano. There we go.
Altamirano.
There we go. There we go. He likes to hit kickbox, and this is a good matchup. I think this is a good way to open the card. 2 prospects, 10-1 versus 7-1. I feel like they're gonna produce a banger. So this is a great way to open the card, and I feel like it's gonna be maybe a finish. I think I'm going with rear naked choke. I'm going Hernandez.
Well, that would be really spectacular to see. The other reason I'm not thinking he gets a submission is because those submissions finishes were over low level guys. I don't think Vic Altamirano is a low level guy. He was actually the LFA flyweight champion before he signed on contention. That shows you. Comes from a prestigious organization, one of the main feeders to the UFC. And both guys are.
Do you know why I picked? Do you know why I picked rear naked choke?
Why?
Because Alamitiano, who's lost 4 times, that was including his amateur career, and all of them by RNC.
I don't really put a lot of stock to the amateur fights, but yeah, that's a possibility there. But I feel like Altamirano has made the improvements personally. But yeah, my pick here will be Carlos Hernandez via split decision, and that wraps it up for UFC Vegas 49 predictions. We could not come up with a told you so fight. I feel like some of these picks are pretty straightforward. The only underdog I picked on the card was Petrosian. So now we'll move on to Silva's slips. You said 4 picks. It's a 4-pick parlay, you said, right?
Yeah, a 4-pick parlay. So shoot it away. I'll write it down.
All right, I'll go with Islam Makhachev. Just pick him straight out. Pick Brahimaj by submission, and I say pick Ignacio Bahamondes, and I'll say go with the inside the distance for Petrosian versus Rodriguez. Those are my 4 picks.
Okay, I've got them written down, and we'll check back with them next week to see how you done. So, how confident are you with them picks?
I would not put them in there if I was not confident in them. My most confident pick on the whole card is that Rodriguez Petrosian going the distance. Both guys are not super durable, and I think when it comes to submissions, we've got a huge edge on the Rodriguez side. So I can't wait for that fight, honestly. But yeah, that wraps it up for the episode. Anything else to leave the people with, Lenny?
Yes, we do. We have Bellator.
Completely forgot. I completely forgot. Bellator will be headlined by the middleweight champion Gegard Mousasi versus Mr. Van Zandt, Austin Vanderford. This is going to be a banger, man. Gegard Mousasi might be one of the most underrated MMA fighters in the history of the sport. You look at a 48-7 record. That's highly uncommon when you're fighting the cream of the crop guys for about 15 years. Gegard Mousasi has been firing on all cylinders for a very long time. He's found himself as the king of the Bellator middleweight division. He fought in his last fight. John Salter gets a decisive win there. And before that, he fights the welterweight champion, Douglas Lima, and he handily wins the fight with the takedowns in particular here. And that's what Vanderford is going to be looking to do. Vanderford is the more muscular guy here, and he's going to try to take him down, maybe trying to land an overhand right, as wrestlers tend to do. I think he can crack Mousasi here. Mousasi has had closer fights, but at the end of the day, I think Mousasi has good takedown defense, and on the feet, he's definitely the cleaner and more experienced striker than Vanderford. So I think he'll use his veteran savvy, get that unanimous decision win here. But he might drop a round or 2 with the wrestling by Vanderford. But also, don't sleep on Mousasi's submissions off of his back. The guy is such a well-rounded fighter. I feel like he's not respected enough. I think he will win this by decision, assuming he doesn't get cracked and finally start to show his age.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. I think Gegard Mousasi gets this one done. As you talked about, he's well-rounded. Austin Vanderford, he's got that heart. If you look at his last fight, he got cut up wide open on the middle of his head against Fabian Edwards. I think that was ground and pound. I think, Fabian Edwards was on his back and he landed like an upward elbow. So Gegard Mousasi could land some shots off his back, but Austin Vanderford is a fantastic wrestler. He's been on the show. I've talked to him. He's a likable guy. So I see him, posing a threat to Gegard Mousasi. But I see Gegard Mousasi being just a little bit too much experience and handing Austin Vanderford his first loss of his career.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. I feel like Vanderford will finally be humbled, and I think it creates an opportunity for Mousasi to maybe move up to light heavyweight. And in the co-main event, we have Sinhead Kavanaugh versus Leah McCourt. Leah McCourt is, in my opinion, the much more experienced fighter, the much more cleaner fighter all around in terms of technique. Does Sinhead Kavanaugh have more fights? Yeah, but Leah McCourt has fought better competition. Kavanaugh had the unfortunate experience of fighting Cyborg in her last fight, got knocked out brutally. But Leah McCourt is not that hard of a hitter compared to Cyborg. I think she outpoints her throughout 15 minutes here. I don't think Sinhead has a quality that will give Leah much of a tough time here, honestly.
I think we might have our first Toja serve of the week. I'm going to go with Sinead Kavanaugh. I think Sinead gets it done. Just as you talked about, they're fighting the better competition. I feel like Kavanaugh's been up there with the best in the featherweight division. She's fought, the tougher competition. If you look at Leah McCourt, who she's fought in a recent, and I could probably only name you two women. It's Are
we good?
Are we?
Shall I refresh?
Back? I believe so. But yeah, as I talk about Leah McCourt, if you look at her record, I could probably. Are we back? I believe we are back.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So
a name I think you're overlooking on the Leah McCourt record is the great Manon Fiorot back when she was a debuting fighter. And Manon Fiorot, don't forget she had a lot of karate and kickboxing experience before that. That's why I said that. Not because I don't respect the fighters that Sin had fought.
Okay, we are back, but without Oscar. I'm not too sure what's happening, but we can never have a show that goes smoothly. I'll bring Oscar back in. But as I was talking, Leah McCourt, I could probably only name two women that she has probably fought in her career. A strong statement, but Sinead Kavanaugh's been up there with the best, and I feel like. She can get this one done. I don't think she knocks out Leah McCourt, but I think it's going to be a decision. Okay, it looks like we're having a bad time here, Oscar. I feel like we've got to let this one go.
Yeah, I believe so. Is there anything you want to leave the people with before we go?
Not really. Make sure you tune in next week where we get to talk about what happened this weekend, and I believe UFC 272.
It appears the connection is a little better now. I just wanted to touch upon Zabid's cousin or brother, I believe.
Yeah.
His brother. I think his brother has a super bright future. I think he finds himself a first round TKO there against his opponent Sanchez. I think this is the fight for Magomed Sharipov to finally get his feet under him in this division here. Will this be an easy fight? No, but I think at the end of the day, I think he finds a finish via submission or via TKO there. I think he's a well-rounded guy. Has a very similar style to his relative there. I think he finds a finish.
Yeah, but Bellator 275 goes down this weekend. It's a good card. I'm picking Sinead Kavanaugh, Geggo Mousasi, and I'm also gonna. We also got Brett Johns on the card as well, former UFC fighter.
Yeah.
Over in Bellator now. A good card. I'm bummed that Peter Queally couldn't make it to the fight because Peter Queally in Ireland is always good to watch. Hopefully Kane Musa gets an opponent, that would be good, but I think it might be a little bit too late now, so that's unfortunate. But yeah, a good weekend of fights coming up. We've got Islam Makhachev versus Bobby Green, a fantastic fight that we have this weekend, and then we got UFC, and then we got Bellator 275. So make sure you tune in next week when we get to talk about it all, and then we get to talk about UFC 272, I believe.
Yeah, Covington versus Masvidal, the fight we've been waiting for seemingly 2-3 years now. It's finally gonna happen, and we'll talk about all that next week. But in the meantime,
and don't forget about that co-main event. Woo! Rafael Fiziev versus RDA. Phenomenal.
it was supposed to be our main event last week, and we're gonna get a 2-for-1 deal on that card. I cannot wait for it. In the meantime, make sure to enjoy this weekend's fights.
100%. Make sure you tune in next week, Tuesday, usually around 2-3 Chicago Standard Time. I don't know what you call it over there, but yeah,
Central Time. Yeah, Central Time.
Central Time. Yeah, 2-3 Central Time over in America, and usually 6 p.m. over here in England. So make sure you tune in next week. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you all. They're all probably sick of us, so make sure you tune in next week where we get to talk about what happened this weekend, and then we get to talk about that all important UFC 272. I can't wait to see you next week. Thank you very much for joining you, and we'll see you later. Goodbye.